Now you sing it, boy. Go on, sing it, help me.
It's got a fine voice, isn't it? Can you tell him
if I had a good leg,
can you tell him what it's about? What's the song about?
Oh, no, I can't explain it in English. No.
Is it about the old tribal stories?
Ah, no.
Just a fun song?
Thingy mga tuli. Koi male nya doi ba. Now, you see, they had the idea the same as a white man. When you die, there's a spirit.
Right.
Well, that's what he's singing about, you see. Koi male nya doi ba. Doi is a spirit, we call that. See, koi male, that he's going to warm up the spirit and he'll be all right.
Ah,
or he'll get all right, something like that.
Right, that's great.
Now I'm on the wrong one. Goi malenya doi bai nga mayo na wana bungela. Ya goi malenya doi bai nga mayo na wana bungela. Ya goi malenya doi bai nga mayo na wana bungela. Ya goi malenya doi. Could you waltz to that?
Oh, I can't waltz. I can't dance. I must say you got a fine voice. Did you, when you were boys, did you sing a lot and do that sort of thing?
No, not when I was a boy. I was singing a lot of white man songs, but not black.
Yeah.
But
where do you remember that one from your?
You were singing a religious type of song, the spirit. Did something happen in your life with a codfish and a snake religiously?
Come here closer, I can't hear you.
You were singing a religious type of film about a spirit. Did something happen in your life once about a snake and a codfish?
Oh, no, but that's different altogether. I never told you that yet. That's got to go through the machine.
Yeah.
Now, I was on Angleool Station. I was a carpenter and painting there, and doing all carpentering work. I've done some blacksmith work there too. And I was there over 12 months. The time came when I cut out. No more work, not in my line. And I went over the town. There's an old mate of mine over there, the old pensioner. Those are all these goats for the races.
Goat races.
His name was Fred too, Fred Wilcox. Them goats got away from him. They went away and wouldn't come home, you know, in the afternoon. And he said, Bloyers, you can go. He said, I couldn't walk for him, he's too old, like me. But anyhow, I knew him when he used to be a shearer. He was a sheared blanket. He showed there a good many years. He was half-caste Maori, old Fred Wilcox. And so I went over there, and he had plenty of room, and he had a little hut he bought in the town. And he said, yeah, he said, mate, stop here. He said, I got to wait for the mail, you see, a couple of 3 days. And I said, well, we had no meat. I said, have you got any limes, Fred? He said, yeah, plenty up in that bag there. He had a sugar bag hanging up there, and there were lines in it. What, he said, you're thinking about going fishing? And I said, yes. I said, I can go down and get a fish. He said, you'll get no fish. He said, I don't think they bite them anyhow, he said. Oh, no, I'm to try them. I said, you won't get any if you don't try. He said, go on, where you go then? River not far, about from here to the pub I had to go, to the river. And I gets there, I heard a splash, you know, I'm just about getting to my destination where I'm going to fish, you see, because I know every blooming tree along the river there, you know, and where the good fishing places is. And I had a splash on the other side of the river. I seen the waves. I looked, I couldn't see nothing. I stood there and I said to myself, well, it must have been a duck or something, or a water in. So anyhow, I started to walk again, and I heard it again. So I stood again and watched, and it come up, and like I've seen it, codfish. Bloomin' pretty big head come up, and I said, a bloomin' fish, it's a bloomin' big fish. So, and anyhow, I stood there, a bit bamboozled about what I'm doing, not giving myself a chance of getting him, you know. I said, I got no chance of getting him, not when he's doing that. But anyhow, he's coming towards me, see? And the river's just running. It had been up, but it's just running. There's a weir down from here, a dam, not far away, half a mile. And it's just running over the weir. And anyhow, I stood still and he's coming direct to me, square on. He could have went, you know, a bit up the river or down the river. But he's coming straight for me. I said, that fish is coming over here. To myself. And I'm working out all the oracles I can think of to how am I going to catch him. Then I've not given myself any hope. But anyhow, I says, nothing else for it. He's going to come right over. I'm going to take my trousers off. See, the policeman was there. There was a policeman there, but he come here then, with the first policeman we had here since when they put that police station up. A fellow named Mather. And I took my trousers off and went in with my flannel. I used to wear a flannel shirt, flannel undershirt they were. You don't see them, they don't make them anymore. I got the last, I wore out there, I wore them for years. And anyhow, in there goes, I got around him, and I'm thinking, I know they're quiet, you know, the codfish is very quiet to handle. I've had a lot of experience catching them with a blackfellow's net, with the Aboriginal fishing net. You make a yard around where the big log is, and they get nests underneath. Here's your beer, come and look.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And anyhow, I got around him. I know they're not frightened. You can touch them, you know, see. And so I said, I'll have to balance him well. And a good flat bank on the net. It's not steep like the Bowen. And I worked him up to close to the bank, and I give one whoosh, and I got him. I chucked him out, and I was right on his down. When he hit the ground, I was there. Gilled him, got a stick and knocked him in there.
How big was he?
15 pounds.
Wow.
Now the old butcher shop there, Peter Printers, his old grandfather, he was a butcher in the town in the early days. Old skillions there, what they used to weigh the meat on. And anyhow, I cleaned him first. I wanted to have a look at him myself. I said, well, I thought there was something wrong with him on account of him doing this, you see. Coming over to me, I said, there must be something wrong with that fish. I've never seen that done before, never heard of it. So anyhow, I cleaned him. He was fat as a bloomin' whale, and nothing wrong with his inside. So I took him home. I wasn't long away, but I wet the lines though, see. I dipped the lines in the water. I never told my mate, old Fred don't know how I caught that fish. From that day to this, I never let him know. But anyhow, what he said, you're back already? I said, yes. I said, I don't sit down all day there to catch a little bloomin' bobby. And he said, you got no fish. I chucked him down, plonk on the ground, you know, the plonk on the ground. He said, by God, he's a big one. He had a look at him. Well, that's the quickest bit of fishing ever I've seen in my life. And well, I surprised him. Well, he didn't have far to go. We took him over to the butcher shop. Bill didn't have any bloomin' meat too because he killed that night. Right. He gave us a quarter the next morning. He gave us a quarter of mutton. And we give him half of him. And poor old Freddie, he never found out how I got that fish. He was the quickest bit of fishing ever I've seen in my life.
It made a good photograph, that, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Did you take photographs in those days? Do you have any photographs of the old days? Did they have cameras? Did many people out here take photographs?
Oh, plenty.
Hey, Fred, Why do you reckon the fish come to you? Why do you go down the river?
Why didn't he?
Yeah, why do you come?
Well, you tell me.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I want to know. I couldn't make it. That's why I said I had a hope in him, because I thought there was something wrong with his inside. See?
Yeah.
See, I said he mightn't be any good to eat.
Yeah.
But he was healthy as any fish that ever I had. And I never died anyhow. After having a feed of him, I'm still alive, but he's dead. And I'll tell you another one, Lenny. I'll tell you another one now that happened to me before that. It put me in mind of it. You see, the God above makes these things, and when that day comes, I'll go. He'll get me booked. And years before that fish business, I had a market garden down about a mile going straight. I had a market garden there in the Depression. Grew a lot of vegetables, but I couldn't get no money. So I had to turn it in. I spent a good bit of money too buying the pumps, all new. Lister engine, I bought a Lister engine and a new pump, 2-inch pump. And grew plenty of vegetables and no money. I had to shut up shop. But while I'm in the garden, same thing happened to me as there's the fish. I'm doing something there, I can't remember now rightly, and all the birds are kicking up around the other side of the river. Same thing, he's on the opposite side. And I looked across, and I could see the birds diving down at him. There's a big brown snake coming down off a tree. On the edge of the water there, the tree is just out of the water. He got in the water, come straight across to me. This is before this fish business. I didn't take any notice of that. But when I got the fish, I thought of this. Then this is years after. I said, now that the same thing happened to when that snake come down. He come over to me, of course. When he come over onto my side and I got out on the ground, of course, I had the waddy there waiting for him. I killed him. Yeah. Well, there I said, that's twice the same thing happened, only two different sort of things. And the time was up, and they had to come to me to kill him. The time was up. That's what I reckon. And you can't argue the point with me because they proved it. There's nothing wrong with the fish, nothing wrong with the snake, until I killed him with a stick. So there you are. So when the day comes, Reece can say goodbye to Lenny Crown and the rest of the boys. When that day comes, he's got you booked. You too.
All right.
You're in the same book. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Fred, let's hope today's your birthday, and let's hope your name's a long way off in the book yet.
That's right. That's right.
Oh yeah.
Let's hope it's a long way off in the book yet.
Yeah. Oh, he hasn't got to the end yet, I don't think.
I hope not.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
No,
it's been
he's been very
fantastic.
good to me anyhow in my lifetime. He's been very good to me, but I looked at it that way. It made me think, you know, see. See, and I'm a man, I don't see things and don't like strange things like that. I take notice and read them back further, and work out, see what I think of them, and that's what when the fish business come, that's twice and nearly in the same place, only a mile away. Yeah.
Well,
You all right?
Yeah. Go on, Fred.
Yes.
yeah, you're going to tell me all about it, Fred.
Well, Mick Rose was jackarooing on Angaloo when I was there, and he was a bit above the average jackaroo, very smart man, you know, among stock, and he could use a stock whip well too for a jackaroo. As a rule, they know nothing at all about them things, wouldn't know how to crack a whip. But anyhow, he drew a block of land while he's a returned man from the war, I find out after. And up at your end bar, there's Mrs. Oliver. I'm working for a man named Oliver, and his brother was married to Frank Wiggins' daughter at Uranbar, 8 miles away. Now Mick drew his block on the off Uranbar. See, and he's got this Miss Oliver. They're the only girl that they had, Jack Oliver, and I don't know what the other old fellow that I was working for at Angledool. He was the manager at Angledool, but he was a brother. And when he went onto the block, he had a wife waiting for him. He married her, and he brings her. I met her the other day.
Yeah?
I said, yeah, she come over to see me because she knows me, you see.
Yeah.
'Cause I put up a cottage there too,
Yeah.
at their place, like old Mrs. Wiggin, her granny, paid me to put up a cottage there for the butcher, what used to milk the cows, kill the sheep and one of them. So I put up a little cottage there long before I knew Mick Rose.
Yeah.
And that's where old Oliver, the brother of the manager Anglo, knew that I was a builder. He used to come up there to visit him because there was laws, like, see. Thought of mother-in-law, old Mrs. Wiggin. But anyhow, old Frank Wiggins buried there, and I suppose old Mrs. Wiggins buried there too. I told the girl the other day when she was ill, I said I wouldn't mind betting there's nobody in Angledool or anywhere about here knows your granny's maiden name. No, she said, I don't think so, Fred. She said, I don't think there's anybody knows her maiden name. Do you? And I said, yes. She said, well, what do you call her? I said, Miss, hold on a minute. Just a minute. I can only generally think of it straight away.
That's life, Fred.
Yeah.
Miss, how I come to know her name. She used to come to Old Bangor, see, visit Mrs. Parker. Miss Ludeman. I said, Miss Ludeman, yeah, that's right, Fred. She said, that's right. But I said, I don't know where she used to come from, but she used to come to Old Bangor visit, and that's where I got her name from. She used to come down that often. All us dark kids, we knew her, Miss Ludeman. When she'd come, oh, that's Miss Ludeman coming. And I knew it, and she was nearly as old as me, but she wasn't as old as me, though, just the same when she died, though. She did now, the poor old woman. And I said, well, I didn't know where she come from. And she said, I can tell you where she used to come from. I said, where? She says, from Carrawillinghai. Big station called Carrawillinghai, 4 miles on the side of Ebel. It's in Queensland. Right. Carrawillinghai in Queensland. It's only not far from Angledool. The Ebel is only 12 miles. 12 miles. Well, it's 4 miles from there to Carrawillinghai, but there's no more Carrawillinghai now, I don't think, because it joins Mogular, and Mogular owns it now. And I don't know who owned it in them days, but that's where she used to come from. She must have had people there.
Well, we covered a lot of ground, Fred. Tell us about when you went to the lake. It brought back a lot of memories to you, I'm told.
Well, as I say, I hit the lake with a place that I'd never been before.
This is the Narran Lake, isn't it?
This is the Narran Lake, and I got a bit of a shock when I got there. I gathered up some mussel shells. No, I changed clothes. And you wouldn't believe that the quantity of mussel shells, they were all broke up, you know, but they were just like the gravel that's on the ground here. And as far as you can see around, from where I was standing, there was mussel shells, but it wasn't right along the lake for miles.
Was this because of the flood? Was it because
this happened years and years ago? But however, the mussel shells were there with the dark people. We had big camps along there, but and they threw all these shells there, but it sort of looked impossible to me. How the big quantity of mussel shells could be laying about there, all smashed up. There's no full ones. There were no full mussel shells. They broke up very, very small. But then, in fact, I brought a couple of pieces back in my pocket, but I haven't got the clothes on now.
Sorry, go on.
And anyhow, we went on there. We were looking for a place where there was a place. How the lake started first. In the first place, there was no lake, according to the Aboriginal stories. So the start of it is that the old man was out hunting, and when he came home, he had out other side of Hangaloo, a place called place called what's the name there?
Oh, you might come back to it later.
Hold on a minute. Play. What a pity! I'll forget my own name directly. Goragil. A place called Goragil. There's a spring there, and they are finding opal just around there at the present time. Not far away. But when the old man came back, his wife was missing. And of course he looked around, and there was supposed to be a crocodile came out of Goragil, and he could track it by the water. The crocodile, after he swallowed her, he made off. And away he went down onto a bit of a channel, and he started from there then to get away. And the husband followed him. He could follow him by the trickle of the water along his tracks, along the crocodile's tracks. And he everywhere that he ran in to have a look, he used to go out off the track like and then run back in. It formed a little ridge everywhere he went in. Today the little stony ridge runs into the river. It just shows you everywhere he had to look for his wife, from Goragil to the lake this happened. And when he got to the lake, he spotted the crocodile. So he sneaked onto him, and he got close enough to spear him. And sure enough, he got him, and the crocodile bucked and plunged and twitched his tail around and knocked all the trees and everything down. And that's how the Narran Lake was formed. But the old man then, when he got around to the crocodile, he cut his stomach open, took his wife out, and he put her on a hant bed to be cleaned after being in the crocodile's stomach. Well, after she'd been there for half an hour or so, might have been an hour, she started to flinch and move. And he found out there was life there still. And he got her cleaned and took her back home again. And that's how the Narran Lake was formed.
That's
the crocodile
story.
knocked all the trees down and made it all clear. It's a big plain now.
That's terrific.
And it's called Grudgeon.
Well, the name of the crocodile?
Name of the lake.
The lake?
That's a black name.
Oh, I see.
What did I say then?
Grudgeon.
Grudgeon.
Mm-hmm.
The white people can't say Grudgeon. Grudgeon. They call it Kigwidgel, the white people. That's as near as they could get to Grudgeon. Well, that is the proper name of the Narran Lake, the black name. But it is a marvelous looking place. With the little bit that I saw of it, now and again that I went along there, the road used to hug the lake. And on Friday when I was out there, the road is all different. There's a place, what I told you just a while ago, where he put his wife on the ant bed. Now that ant bed grown to a big hill about, I'd say, about 100 foot high. It's a round sand ridge with pine trees growing on it. But we couldn't find that place because the road is altered. You can't get to where this ant bed is today. According to the road, we couldn't find it. So I explained to the people that I was with, they were interested in it, to have a look at it, and because it developed from a little ant bed to a big sandhill. So it's there today, but we were unlucky we couldn't find it there on Friday. So we came home to Lightning Ridge.
You were telling us earlier on about the Hammond boys and when you were walking barefoot along the lakes. Can you tell us that again?
Oh yeah, that machine went crooked, didn't it?
That's right.
And when I first went along the lake, when I first saw it, I was 12 years old. I think I'm correct there. And there were some boys. There was some white boys in front of us, where only me and another dark man was following them. They had a couple of days' start on us. But we were all barefooted. They were barefoot as well as we were. And we make into Burma, a big station on the Barwon, on the bank of the Barwon. And the lake, as I just explained, is on Burma country, most of it. And there's a little bit on a station called Moorlands, what they call the Harm, but that's only a small portion. So anyhow, we gets to Burma in time for the roll call, because they used to call the roll for people that's got their names in the book where they work for Young & Co. as the contractor. They generally, when they cut out a shed, they generally put their names down for the next shed for the next season. So that's what the roll call is for. And if you were a cook, you likewise you went to the roll call, and you couldn't go straight in and start cooking, because there's other cooks besides you, and they got to have a chance too. And they had to be voted in by the men. the shearers cook and the rouseabouts cook. Well, every cook had to stand out. There might be 4 or 5, there might be 6 or 7 cooks. And you have to stand out with your union ticket in your hand to show that you belong to the AWU. And then you were voted in. Whoever got the biggest majority of men, well, he got in for the cooking. And then you never took or set on one another. You was all up in all the cooks, in especially a big shed, and they were big in them days. And they helped one another. Some made the bread. You had to be a perfect baker to be a shearer's cook, because if you couldn't bake bread, they'd soon get somebody else that could.
Voted out, eh?
Get
voted out. You get voted out. You were saying that the men voted for the cooks.
Oh yes, you're in now though. You're in.
Mm-hmm.
You're in there. Yeah, like to me now. I'd been voted in myself.
Mm-hmm.
In a shed, and so here's a gentleman coming along now that I know, and he.
Hey, Fred.
Good day.
Where's Ernie?
Very old it is.
Oh, pretty bad, isn't he?
Yes, he's in bed. Yes, well, yes, you ought to be voted in. Well, I say, then all the cooks then they help one another. You see,
Right.
they buck in and you start making cakes and things like that, and others cooking meat and others making bread. You generally have the yeast already made. You can get it off some of the cooks that's a good baker. You know, on stations, they generally had. There was only one yeast you could make bread out of, and that they called it spontaneous yeast. Well, that's supposed to be quick yeast, and it is quick too, because I used it myself, and I've been a first-class baker. And then you couldn't make bread in those days unless you learned to make that one special yeast. Every baker used it, and that's what they called it, spontaneous yeast. And it's not made today, of course, everybody knows that. But it's different kind of bread to what you get today. I reckon it's better bread. It was flaky bread. And this bread that you get today, it's very short in the grain. It's different bread altogether, but you've got to be a baker to understand what I'm talking about.
Right.
Because if you didn't see the two bread, well, you wouldn't know the difference.
It could have something to do with the way they mill the flour nowadays.
No, we had good flour.
Mm.
We had good flour.
I'm suggesting that maybe the flour's not good now.
Oh no, it's made with different yeast.
Oh, I see.
See, the yeast is manufactured now.
I see.
You don't make it at all. See, you had to make it yourself.
So you had a little stock of yeast which you kept going all the time?
Oh,
did
you know, I tell you, if you come to a station where there's a big shed and you didn't have ready-made yeast, well, if you had ready-made yeast, you carried it, you see, with you.
Tell
And
me, did you brew your own beer in those days?
a lot of people did.
Did they?
Like here now in Lightning Ridge. Before there was an hotel here, there's hot beer shops all over the place. And all round beer. They get the whole round, growing around different places in patches. There's plenty down at Wheatelabar.
Would they use similar yeast for that? Would there be a different yeast?
I couldn't tell you about the making of the beer. No, because everybody had a different way of making it.
I see.
And just the same as the yeast about baking bread. Now the poor women, you see, they didn't understand making the spontaneous yeast at all. And spontaneous yeast is very good for making big quantities, you see. And the yeast the poor women used to use was yeast they made. They sold cold water yeast, lemon yeast, and one thing other like that. Different names they had for it. But some would make good bread, and you know, fairly good, eatable bread, and other you had a job to eat it. But it never made bread like the spontaneous yeast, but they didn't know how to make that.
Right.
So they had to do the best they could. And it was all camp oven cooking, you see, but like for the women out in these parts, because you couldn't get stoves very easily. The railway was too far away. The days I'm talking about, the railway was back at Wee War. And they'd come to Burren Junction, a place called Burren Junction. It's making to Walgett now.
That's right.
And then it'd come to Cryon. And I've had the job of taking spare horses when my boss used to have to go to Sydney. Well, he'd have to send a man with spare horses in front of him, like a day ahead of him, and so as he could change horses going to catch the railway. So I had that job once, and when the train was at Cryon then, and it never got to Walgett till 1908, and when Lightning Ridge started in 1903, I mean starting to find saleable opal. They had they built a little bit of a town, what they call Sims's Hill.
Right.
I've been to the town, and where I'm sitting down now, I used to drive along here with a horse and sulky, making for the town at Sims's Hill to buy supplies. So, and the houses were very rough. A lot of them were built out of bark and bag and calico and whatever they could get. And they didn't stay there very long before it was surveyed. Here where I'm sitting now, it was surveyed out, and where I'm sitting now is a part of Newtown, and that's why they called it Newtown, because the old town was back at Sims's Hill. So today it's a fairly big town, and the population is somewhere around about 3,000, I think.
Well, how many miners were there in the old days? Can you remember?
Oh, you couldn't tell. You couldn't tell. They're coming and going all the time. It was a starvation job. And I wouldn't leave my job to go opal digging because I was sure of a feed, but you wasn't sure of your meal
If you were digging.
when you're digging opal. Oh, no.
What about some of those old miners? Can you remember any of them? You mentioned Tom Leonard earlier on.
Tom Leonard was a mate of mine. His house stands up there now, up the street here a bit, just this side of the post office. A man by the name of Bert Smith lives in it now, and Bert Smith and me and Tom Leonard worked together. Digging opal, we got a little bit when we were together, but we didn't get it. We didn't make a fortune. And
When did Leonard first come here? What years?
oh, Leonard was a shearer.
Tell us a bit about his life and how he come to Lightning Ridge.
Well, Mrs. Leonard, when I first knew her, she wasn't a married woman. She was she came from England. She was an immigrant, and she worked on Bangor as where I was born, station called Bangor, and she worked there as a servant girl, and she left there and she went into Cadoga, and she got a job there at an hotel as a servant girl in an hotel in Cadoga. And then she worked around to Hangledool. Hangledool is a town and a station. You can see one from the other. And one's on each side of the river, or each side of the Narran River. That's the river that fills the Narran Lake. And anyhow, Tomlin had come along. I suppose he thought himself a smart-looking bloke, and blow me if he didn't catch. Hold on, I know a name too. I can't just think of a name. I knew a name, but I'd forgotten it so long ago. But anyhow, Tomlin had married her, and then he brought her here, just out of Lightning Ridge. I'd say a mile and a half from here, to a place called Nebia. Nebia was a outstation, a Hangledool station. What they call a outstation in them days was where people, they're called bounty riders. He got the job of bounty riding at Nebia Hut. And those two huts been pulled down after they lost the country. The station lost the country, and they pulled down, and they both standing here now in the town, about a half a mile apart, might be a little bit more. I can point them out to anybody that'd like to see them, and you can see straight away that they're not a up-to-date house. They're old-time style and the build.
It's marvellous that they still survive.
Yes, yes, they're still here. I can point them out. And one's not far away from Lenny Cran's house, only a few hundred yards.
And what became of Tom Leonard?
He went where the big mob goes. Yeah.
Tell us about him when he come to Lightning Ridge.
Yes, well, Tom, then you see, he knocked off shearing altogether when he married. Oh, hold on now. McCulloch is his wife's name, maiden name, McCulloch. I can't think of a first name though. McCulloch would be the surname. McCulloch, Molly McCulloch. Molly McCulloch was the name. I found it at last. But she was a nice woman. She was a nice woman. They had two youngsters. And the girl married people in Collarinda. They have the picture show. They used to have the picture show there. I wouldn't be surprised if they get the picture show there yet.
When was that, Fred?
Back in about 1900, and I'd say about 1910, 8 or 10.
Only yesterday.
Yeah.
Would they have been still pictures? I suppose they would.
What's that?
The picture show? What sort of... describe it to
He's
us.
talking about the marriage.
Oh, the picture show would be the picture show the same as they got now. Well, it's around 1910. What I mean, the talkie, you see, we used to call them talkies when they first came out, because the picture before that couldn't talk at all.
That's right, yeah. That's what I was wondering when.
Yes, well, these are the talkies. Oh, yes, so what do they name them people now? I can't. Cutlers. Cutlers is the man that Tom Leonard's daughter married. She was Mrs. Cutler, and I think they're still alive.
What did Tom Lennon do in Lightning Ridge? When he got married and come to Lightning Ridge, did he go opal mining? Did he stay here? What did he do?
Well, when he came to Lightning Ridge, he was bounty riding first at Nebia.
Right.
And then when that was cut out, you see, they lost the country, and Tomlin had lost his job. He come into town, and he bought that house where we just told you, where Bert Smith is. And he lived there, and he had different mates. And when I come along, of course, he knew me well. We used to be shearing around Bangor where I was working, and of course, we pelled up straight away, and we got to digging opal together. And I was lucky enough in the wartime. Hold on. Yes, I went to Bogabilla. That's it. A place called Bogabilla. That's where the people that were with me down the Narran Lake on Friday. That's where they went to from here. There's a big mission there, and I worked on that mission. I done the plumbing work because I couldn't carry me carpenter's tools because they're too heavy, and you have to have too many tools to do plumbing, carpentry. But do a bit of plumbing, making tanks and one thing, you only want a few punches and blooming hammer and a soldering iron, and you're right, and away you go. But anyhow, I was there from start to finish. It took 8 months. 8 months to build the mission. They shifted from a place called Boomai up near Mungandai. The Aboriginals shifted from a mission I can't think of the name of it, but Boomai was their town anyhow, just out of Boomai, and they shifted them from there to Bogabilla, 9 miles away from town, because I don't know, somehow or another the white people didn't like the Aboriginals living in the town, and a lot of them don't like them yet, and anyhow, as far as I know, there's a lot of them shifted now back to Moree. A lot of them went to Moree, and there's a lot that went to Gundawindi. Gundawindi and Boomai is only 5 miles apart. One's in Queensland, as everybody knows, and the other's in New South Wales. And Bogabilla couldn't get any closer because the river there, the McIntyre, which is called the Bowen when it goes along down past Mungandai. And anyhow, we cut out about a fortnight before the war broke out. And I came back down to Mungandai and back down to Walgett and started carpentering around and the district.
What happened
and I was very close to one of the wool sheds I built down at the Narran Lake on Friday. I was very close to one of the sheds, but I wasn't right there. And then I was talking to a man that he was only a boy then when I saw him, but I rigged up the saw bench there for a man named Fred Lane, and the place called Currajong, named after Currajong tree. And his country is on, named out of the digging, Len.
Oh, the other digging, he's over
That's the Gowan.
Glengarry. Right.
Glengarry really is on his property. And him and his brother, not so very long back, they got a big find of opal. And they kept it quiet. They never let anybody know they were getting it until they got all they wanted, or all they could get. And then they spoke about it, and everybody made a rush.
Right.
But the opal was gone. And I hear that They are very rich today, them two boys.
Very smart.
Yeah. And but I can't remember them boys. When I first saw their father, I put up the saw bench for him. He had the saw bench there ready, and he asked me to put it up for him, so as he could cut his own timber to build his house. And so I had to look at the house, and the wool shed he's got there now built up to date, and he got a nice little home, and he's got some youngsters now that I never heard of before. In fact, I can't remember him because I can't remember any small kiddies when I put up the saw bench. And so anyhow, I put the saw bench up, and he said to me, then he says, Reece, he says, I'll tell you what I got. He says, fair next. He says, if you like to take it on. He said, I got some fencing. Well, I said, I'm not a fencer. And but he said, I know you can put one up though, and it'll suit me. And anyhow, I was forced to take it, as I only had a horse and sulky, and on the country where he wanted me to do his job fencing, he had beautiful grass there. And he told me, he said there's plenty of grass, and he had a nice rain on the block, and his next door neighbour had done his off at the line of fence a mile apiece, what I could make out, and there was a mile for him to do his share, putting up the fence boundary. So anyhow, I took the job on, and he guided me out to where the place was. I didn't know where it was, and I had to go across the lake country, and as we were talking about a while ago, and I went to the Stony Crossing, and that's the Stony Crossing is over the Narran, and she's very close to going into the lake now, where the Stony Crossing is, and not far away from the lake, and this the Narran River though, just the same. But there's a bridge there now. There's a road goes right past the ridge, been surveyed out. Now you can go straight from Mungandai to Brewarna without going into Walgett. You used to have to go down Walgett way. And there's a shortcut straight through here, the road we took on Friday to go to the lake. So I finished that job then, as I was saying, this fencing job. And I came back then, and there was some, no, it was still dry. It was still dry when I came back, and my son is working at the place where I just spoke about a while ago, where I built a wool shed. I was close to the day when I was at the lake. He was working there for a man named Fred Colwell, and so I had to leave my turn out there with him, and his boss happened to come there, Fred Colwell, and he gave me a ride into Walgett, and he gave me a ride into Walgett so I could get a job, and there's plenty of cane grass, what they call cane grass there on Fred Colwell's property. That's why I left my horse there, and plenty of spinifex. And one thing, it's not much of a country where the spinifex grow, and the stock don't go much on it either. But they'll eat it when they pinched, same as we would when we're hungry. But
we were talking about Tom Leonard and about wartime. Tell us something about what happened then, Fred.
Well, let me see there. Me and him was...
You were saying...
Me and Tom...
Oh, sorry.
Me and Tom, I think, was working together when I got the managing job of Lawn. lawn's at the 3 mile
Mm-hmm.
away from here where I'm sitting down. And the owner, Dick, I can't think of his name now. Anyhow, he went to the war. The owner of the lawn went to the war, and they wanted to manage his station, his property while he was away, and I happened to get the job. And it was just somewhere around about 12 months when he returned, and everything was okay. It was dry when I took charge. So the father lived over on the Castlereagh other side of Walgett at the time, and he used to come and see me now and again to see how I was getting on. And he told me then, he says, Fred, he says, if you like to knock down a little bit of scrub for the cattle. I had about 15 or 20 head of cattle, and besides sheep. And anyhow, I said, I'm going to look after the cattle because I want to milk them when it rains. He said, that's all right, he says, as long as you look at it that way. And while I was on the job, I got me rain, and plenty of it. And I shifted the cattle before the rain to a little place on the main Walgett-Cadoga Road, and angled all the same road. Usually goes up a portion of the way to Cadoga, and turns off, and Angled Road turns off, and Cadoga Road runs straight ahead. Mm-hmm. And anyhow, they had a thunderstorm down at a little place called Weetalabar. Mm-hmm. Used to be an hotel there, but there's none there today. Roadside hotel. There was hotels every few miles, a horse journey for people that's traveling with horses, and there was no motor cars in them days. And they were put in certain places, a certain distance along the road from each other, so as it'll be a journey for a horse in a day. Mm-hmm. And Weetalabar was one of them. And where do I go from there?
Well, can we talk a little bit about some of these people? Can you tell us something about Fred Bodell?
Oh, I don't know. I know Fred ever since I was a boy, but he was only a shearer. Mm-hmm. He was only a shearer, and I can't talk much about him. He didn't do any wonderful things as far as I know. Mm-hmm. Like myself, I haven't done any wonderful things myself.
He's very well known in the mining world, though, isn't he? Around the ridge.
He was like everybody else. Everybody had to learn about opal.
Right.
It's no good you coming in. Well, that's a silly sort of a question, but everybody didn't know anything about opal to come along, because when you came along, you knew nothing about opal until you found it. And and you had the job ahead of you to find that bit of opal.
We were down at Fred's house the other day.
Yeah,
old camp.
Yeah, his old house is still standing there.
That's right. It's still in good condition. Oh, yeah. And I was told that the Governor General visited him. Do you remember that?
Governor General.
Yeah, they actually went to his house.
Oh, what do you call him? Sir Roden Cutler?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I had dinner with him.
Did you?
I had dinner with Sir Roden Cutler.
Tell us about that.
And before him, I had dinner with what is his name? Governor before him, name him.
Oh, I can't remember.
No. I know his name.
Doesn't matter.
Woodward. Woodward. Governor Woodward. Yes. Had dinner with Governor Woodward just after Hodges come here.
Yes.
Me and him had dinner with him.
Mm-hmm. Tell us a bit about...
in the hall.
Tell us a bit about Harry Hodges. Tell us something about him so that we're just for the record.
No, you shouldn't interfere now. You got me on one thing and you won't.
Sorry, okay.
No, that's wrong.
Okay.
That's very wrong,
Okay.
For a man like you, you shouldn't cut me off one.
So okay, well let's go back to Fred, shall we?
To another. Oh no, you're not giving me a chance
Okay,
at all.
I'm sorry, Fred.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, tell us about the governors, Fred. Tell us about the two governors.
Well, everybody was asked to go to have dinner with him, and me and Archie and his sister was here. We had his sister here, a woman called Mrs. Frank Still. So and I was looking after the showcase at the time for Hodgie, and selling jewellery and one thing other than opal, but anyhow, we all rolled up, and as everybody was asked, and so we went and had dinner with Governor Woodward. And then, anyhow, it come to the day when Governor Sir Reardon Cutler came here. So he sent a special message for a couple of dark boys to come and have dinner with him, if they could find a couple of dark boys. And of course they soon found one. Well, they found two, in fact, Jack McRae and Fred Reece. Yes, so up we goes, and he shouted for everybody at the hotel. We're going to have our dinner at the hotel this time, not in the dance hall. So we had dinner with him, and he tried to make everybody happy, and they finished up taking him down to the 3 Mile, and I don't know what had happened down there at all, because I didn't go down there. But they all took him away, and that was the last I seen of Sir Reardon Cutler.
How'd he come? In a big aeroplane?
Now, I can't remember how he came, but I guess it was an aeroplane.
It probably was, yeah.
Yes, I think it was an aeroplane. Oh, it would be a plane, yeah. That's not... Oh, no, Jack McRae was alive. You know Jack? Was Jack alive when you
That was 19 years ago.
Oh, 19.
19 years ago, I had been here at Lightning Ridge 1 year when that took place.
Ah. You know a bit to put in too, then. Yes, well, what are we going to start on then?
Well, we were talking about Fred Bodell, weren't we?
Ah, Bodell, yeah. Yes, well, I know Fred Bodell when I was only a little boy. He was a shearer, and he used to shear at Anglewool, and that's where I first knew him, Anglewool Station, you see. I worked there as a carpenter at Anglewool Station myself. Later years, and then Fred made his home here, like, you see. He went away in the shearing season. He went away and got his couple of 3 sheds, whatever he might have had. Then he came back and went opal digging again. But I never bothered about opal digging much, because I looked after myself as far as a few bob concerned, and I always went for the highest paid job that I could find, but there was very little between a stockman and a tradesman. And like far as money concerned, the money was small, don't matter what you done.
Right.
And
well, I suppose to the opal miner there was always a chance that he might strike a bit more.
Oh yeah, there was always a chance of striking it big, but you went hungry a lot of days.
More, yeah. Right.
More times. More times.
They still go hungry today. 80% of them in Lightning Ridge still go hungry
Still go
today.
hungry, right.
Still go hungry today.
Yeah.
Oh yes, it's a starvation sort of a job.
Yeah.
But I never fancied it anyhow. But the little bit I done, I got the job of managing the lawns that we just explained, and I was sure of getting me dinner there. And me and old Tom was all the time I was managing the lawn. We was mates when we were digging, like, see. I could dig when I work digging when I liked, you see, because it was dry and long as my stock was right. And I seen that the cattle. I went out and cut a bit of scrub down from a bird.